Hi everyone, my name is Akua and today I'll be hosting the workshop. And today our presentation is going to be a Nilix incident response. And our overview, we'll be talking about process hunting, file system hunting, and also the persistence hunting. And we're going to do a lot of demonstrations. So when it gets to the demonstration part, you guys can like follow up. It's really interesting and it's really fun. Hope you guys will enjoy it today. So, first of all, we'll go with the file hunting. Why does file hunting matters? So attackers often drop their files in system that keeps access to or also runs like some malicious activities, usually using like a backdoor, the crypto miners, and also like script or persistence payloads. Some common hidden places include the folder, usually the slash TMP. Sometimes they also use like all set wait startups slash TMP or startups or usually files that's like bash RC. That's where they usually like hide their files. Also with that, red flag also include like a hidden files that recently we can include hidden files or recently modified files, executed files, and filed in, which is hidden in the slash and TMP. Also files with like random or unusual names, like random names you wouldn't like really expect, but like usually with the files hunting, they you wouldn't find it like until you just like hunting. And for the demonstration for this, we'll put all the demonstration for the last. So we just go over the slides, and then the demonstration will do it after the slides is done. Yeah. More demos. And also for process hunting usually means like checking on programs that are running on your system. So programs that are running on your system. Um, if a system is like uh, compressed, attackers can usually run a malware as a process and also drop a file and also create persistence and also communicate over the network. So if your process is like really like compressed, uh, that's sorry. Uh, so over here, what we'll be doing with the demonstration, with the demo, we'll investigate the running processes, hunt for some suspicious files. We have already made files, so we just like run like hunt for them, and then also detect a persistence machines and also analyze network connections. And why does this matters? This matters because if an LX system is like I mentioned, if it runs with a compress, the attackers can run progress and also drop like modified files, establish persistence, and communicate over the network. So if you blue team, like he said, think like a hacker or like a red team. Like if something is wrong, just think like a hacker and then try to like yeah. Also, on top of that, same with the CDC, the CCDC invitationals. When it comes to like with us, the blue team, the red team also came in to help. Like when something is like really going down bad, and then they know that oh, the blue team is like struggling really bad. I think it was we thought it was like the red team when they got into um with someone's machine and then they were telling them yeah they were telling them they were telling them to like do this do that to like get the routers like fixed up because what our group was like going downhill, but yeah. So we'll also make a demonstration on this on creating like a hidden process, and Adam will be working on that. Moving on to the persistence. So a persistence is how attackers survive reboot. So it keeps access to the system even if it's like it restarts. So if and some common Nilix persistence can be like a cron tab or a cron job. Oh, question? Oh, okay. A cron tab or a cron job or like a system service. Also, a modify files like I mentioned before the uh, bash RC. Also, can use like an SSH authorized key
Yep.
for the persistent.
Yeah,
And
if you're familiar with how SSH works, you can either authenticate with a password or with an SSH key. When the hacker tries to get in, when the red teamer gets in, they can set up so that the system remembers his public key. That way, whenever he tries to log in, it provides the, his private key. The server is like, oh yeah, I already know you, and then he lets him in. Same with system D services and crontab. Crontab, you can set it up so, for example, every 5 or 10 minutes, it checks if like a file that the malicious user put is still there. So, for example, a certain kind of malware, and that way it makes sure that it's still there. System D services, um, red teamers can also obviously if you're at like a competition CCDC where you need services to be up, they can take those down. They can even periodically take them down using the cron tab. They can also set up their own services, such as their own SSH backdoor or like a web shell. There's a lot you could do with services. And RC local, RC OpenRC is another init system. If you guys know what that is, it's basically the system D. System D is another init system. If you guys remember the previous workshop, did a bit about that. Our OpenRC also manages services, and Bash RC basically sets up the shell environment, which could also be useful for malicious user.
okay. And also we'll be making more demos. So today our main goal is to create like a three main demonstrations on processes, file creating files, and also persistence. And that is what we'll be doing in the next 8 minutes. So, what to look for when you're investigating? Ask yourself, usually, if you find like a suspicious file, ask yourself, do I recognize this file? Do I know this file? What is this file? Um, you can always check it by running processes. Also, check your top CPU usage and run search for an executable in the ht in the t/tmp, and that with that we're gonna run it after like this slides or a couple more slides. We're gonna run it and then you're gonna see how it's done. And also you can also check your cron tab or cron jobs, also by also checking your network connections. And these are like the helpful tools. Wait, do you have anything?
Yeah. Also, you, to know what is bad, you have to first know what is good. If you, for example, know you're working with an HTTP server, you have a reverse proxy, like for example Nginx, or you could be hosting a web server through Python. Knowing what are the typical ways of how different services work, it'll be easier to see what you need and what you don't need. If, for example, there is a netcat listener, I don't think that's very useful. I think red teamers might be using that to gain like a reverse shell or on your system.
Yeah.
So just being familiar with both, not only just the operating system, know where certain files should be, how they should be structured, what they look like, but also just what processes should be running on a system. Just knowing what is the quote good state of a system, and then that way you have a point to compare if there's something malicious like a red teamer putting in a malicious process. Sometimes they could be very obvious, such as naming a process evil process. Usually red teamers or someone who wants to hack into your machine, they'll probably not do that. They'll try to make it convincing. But if you have an attentive eye, if you know what's supposed to be there, what's not, it's gonna help you. Yeah.
Okay, so lastly, some helpful tools you can use in order to search for like any malicious or some suspicious files. Usually, what I like the most is Splunk. That's what I use the most. But
Yeah,
um,
Elk is also an alternative. Splunk, if you guys don't know, is a SIM. It basically manages your logs. You can forward all your logs from a machine or multiple machines inside a network to a Splunk using Splunk forwarders. And what Splunk does is it just basically looks at the logs, catalogs them. It can even tell you which ones are high risk, and it just makes looking at logs much easier. Obviously, being able to go through bar log, just looking through the logs yourself, is also handy. But having the automation of putting all of your logs together in one place, and even just having some like automation, just like us, just having some software looking at these logs and telling you, hey, this doesn't look right, and then just being able to see the different ways a red teamer has accessed the path that they took to access your machine is very helpful. An attacker could be taking down your service, and you only notice once the service is down. But if you look through the logs, you can see, oh, they used this exploit on this web server that we're hosting. How did they do that? What is the IP that they're using? And what is the commands that they were running?
okay.
Yeah, having the scene there is very useful. There's also other programs you can run, such as AutoKey, and, and even just hardening scripts, which basically tell you if your system has vulnerabilities, known exploits, and that just keeps an attentive eye. If you know that you patch those vulnerabilities and you see them still there, hey, maybe someone is on your machine that shouldn't be there. They're just trying to keep something open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be it for our slide. But before we start the demo, does anyone have like any questions or